Hey, okay, welcome to Her Hands That Held the Stars. This is another text for level 6 or 7 for our solar system synergy unit. This learning target that we're talking about today is this one. It's explaining how setting is developed in a narrative text or analyze how elements in a narrative text interact. We're really just talking about setting, how setting affects, contributes to conflict in a text. It has been happening on all of these stories, especially something like All Summer in a Day, where the setting really contributes to the conflict in that text. Margot, if it weren't for the setting, Margot wouldn't have been put into a closet or had the whole conflict of her knowing what the sun is like and all the other kids being really jealous of Margot. So we're dealing with analyzing narratives, and we're talking about setting. So in today's lesson, we are reading a story. It's called Her Hands That Held the Stars. And let me pull that up for you. What we're doing is we have Kim along with us today, a guest host. Her Hands That Held the Stars. And so what we're going to talk about in this text is something called imagery. And so authors use imagery when they're trying to get us to visualize something or be there, use our five senses to understand what something is like. They might use descriptive words that bring about ideas of how something smells or tastes or looks. Or how something sounds. And by reading those words, we're getting a picture of what the author is thinking, what the author wants us to visualize or see or hear. When you're thinking about this as an author and you're writing a story, you have this picture in your mind of what you think it's all going to be like. The really hard thing for an author is to try to get that idea and put it on paper so that the readers of the story also can visualize what the author is thinking. So in Her Hands That Held the Stars, if you've read this, as you go through the story, I should say, because you're watching this before you read it, I want you to take a look for possible passages that talk about what Akeisha's planet is like, or what Akeisha's world is like. So I'm going to go over a couple of highlighted passages that I pulled out that I thought did a good job of using imagery so they can help us understand what Akeisha's world is like. So here in paragraph 1, 2, 3, and paragraph 4, it says, he glared over Akeisha's head to where Nana stood near the front entry, her uniform jacket dangling from one hand. And just simple things like this, like to where she stood near the front entry and her uniform jacket dangling from one hand. I can visualize, I can see a person standing by a door with their uniform jacket hanging out of their hand. And it allows me to visualize this person. As we continue on, paragraph 10, stuffing her feet into her lace-ups, Akeisha tiptoed out of her room. I could picture that. I could picture someone putting their feet into their lace-ups and tiptoeing. Picked up Nana's uniform jacket and slipped her arms inside. It was 2 sizes too big, but it smelled of Nana's perfume, and more important, the key card hung from its clip in the front pocket. I'm getting a visualization of a girl grabbing her Nana's jacket. And I don't know about you, but like my grandma wore some really strong perfume, and so if I was around her, around something that belonged to her, you could smell that perfume on them. Maybe your mom or somebody in your life does that same thing. It's 2 sizes too big, so I can visualize this thing. A littler person holding onto someone else's very large jacket is too big, but it smells like them. So these visual details right here, this imagery, it helps us to understand and help us kind of be in the situation. Okay, as you go along. You might find some ones. There's paragraph 15 has a good highlight for that, or paragraph 20, 19, 18, and 17, and this one here are really big about what the world is like. And as you go through the rest of the story, try and find and isolate passages for you that help you understand what Akeisha's world is like. Once you're done with the story and reading it, I want you to make a bubble map. And a bubble map talks about Akeisha's world. So the bubble map is where this is at the center of our world. And then up here, I write one descriptive word here that helps me understand what that world is like. Akeisha's world is filled with smog. Okay? Her world is very smoggy. It's the conflict. This is basically the main kind of driving force of the conflict in the story. So now I have it. It's smog. I'm going to say maybe smoggy. So it's a descriptive word or an adjective. I'm going to put adjectives in here. And if I come back here, now what I need to do is I need to be able to prove and find a spot in the story where it says, what exactly is smoggy? I'm looking for those imagery details. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to find a spot in the story. I'm going to come back here that talks about what it's like. And so here we go. Pressed her face to the window, staring up at the curdled green-yellow eversmog between their sky spear and the next. And so this part right here, this curdled green-yellow eversmog between the sky spear and the next, help me understand that. Helps me understand what smoggy looks like. So I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write curdled green-yellow eversmog. This word eversmog is a brand new word. It's one they made up for the story, but it's a really good one. They also have sky spears. You understand? Could you visualize what a sky spear is? Here on Earth, I guess we have skyscrapers, right? In Russia, the Russian word for skyscraper, they couldn't quite translate it as cloud catcher. So eversmog is something that happens on Akeisha's world, and I know that means smoggy. So what I'm looking for you to do is, after that you've read this story, I want you to go ahead and fill in several more for Akeisha's world. What's it like? And you might find that when she gets to the top of one of these sky spears, she experiences kind of a different world, a different reality. And maybe you can explain what one of those is like. So we're looking for imagery, looking for words that show imagery, and looking to understand how that makes our stories better as writers. Because when you go to write your own science fiction or dystopian novel, or short story, I should say, you're going to be able to use imagery to help your readers understand what your world is like as well. Okay, good luck. Let me know if you need